Hello and welcome to the Real 3 podcast. My name is Sam and I have with me today Matt.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And I have Sid as well.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Let's start it off. Today we are going to be discussing Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Us three, we watched it on opening night, and this is the first time that we will be discussing this film in person. So let's get started. The synopsis for Black Panther Wakanda Forever is Queen Ramonda, Shuri, M'Baku Okoye, and the Dora Milaje fight to protect their nation from intervening world powers in the wake of King T'Challa's death. As the Wakandans strive to embrace their next chapter, the heroes must band together with Nakia, Everett Ross, to forge a new path for their beloved kingdom. Okay, boys, so Matt, we'll start with you. What did you think?
Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I found it entertaining. I think it was lacking in some areas, maybe a little bit weaker in others, but overall, I think it paid a good homage to Chadwick Boseman, how he passed, and then as well as how they ended that character as well. I think that the movie did a good job in being respectful.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Sid, what do you think?
Well, I think that the MCU actually made a serious movie for once, so that's commendable. I agree with what Matt said about Chadwick Boseman tribute, because that was it was really heartfelt. Even though he was absent from the movie, you very much felt his presence, and it really brought that emotion to the forefront. And I thought it was, given the circumstances, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was a great movie.
And just to add on to that, one cool thing I liked about it, one of the feelings I got, I don't know about you guys, but that the movie felt like it was missing someone. I felt that whole time there was something missing from this film, something, and I think Sid was the one who pointed it out. That was probably done on purpose because of...
Yeah, it's unintentional and intentional. Unintentional in the sense that he tragically passed and they were kind of handcuffed and they really had no way around this, but intentional in the sense that they didn't just try to ignore it and say, okay, T'Challa passed, moving on, here's the new Panther. They really wanted to emphasize it, that he's gone, and these are the ramifications.
And you feel that. You feel that watching it.
And I think you guys nailed it on the head with the end, that you can feel it. And I know for myself, I would say I am more of a DC fan than I am of the MCU. Sid, I know you can...
I second that.
You can second that as well.
I'm a hardcore Marvel fan.
Yeah, I know Matt is the Marvel guy of us three, but...
We love Marvel, though. Don't get us wrong. We don't want to alienate anybody. We're not tribal.
I feel that on the emotional side of things, it really did hit me. Obviously, Chadwick Boseman's death was a shock to literally everyone. And the question was, what are they going to do next? Like, what's the next move?
Everyone was asking, what's the next move? And Chadwick, T'Challa, both people, they're both the same person. It's crazy. No one's really, other than Robert Downey Jr., really created a role that, boom, like this embodied that character. And Chadwick, I think, casts a really big shadow, but the acting in this movie, I think, found a way to kind of break out of that. And I think the acting was...
Well, that's the benefit the MCU has, is that they're bringing a lot of these heroes to life for the first time. Whereas, like, if you go to DC, Superman and Batman have been done how many times already? Yeah. This is Black Panther's first time. It's Iron Man's first time, Captain America, Thor, etc.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and I think I speak for many, their only time. We don't want to see these recasts. So it's unfortunate that Chadwick died, because we were just getting to know T'Challa. Yeah. He was great. Civil War, he was amazing. Black Panther, he was great. And based on what Ryan said, what he originally had planned, I would have loved to have seen more of him, but obviously...
Yeah, and again, I think it's about how you execute. And I think what the MCU has done, obviously, compared to what the DCEU has done, is that they've executed. And I think that me going into this film, I really didn't expect to leave that film with so much, with such a heavy heart. Like, I really did feel the emotion, and that's something that really stuck with me. You can tell with Shuri, you can tell with Queen Ramonda as well.
Feel their pain.
You could feel their pain. And I think that had a lot to do with Chadwick Boseman himself as a person. Like, I felt like they truly, Shuri truly lost a brother, and the Queen truly lost a son, and you could feel that. Like, the funeral scene was phenomenal.
Oh, that was great.
It was phenomenal. What they were wearing, the costumes. I know we're gonna get into the costumes a little bit later, but overall, I just thought it was very, very well done. I personally was a little bit skeptical with Shuri kind of taking the mantle, but guys,
I agree.
I really did like her in the movie. I thought she was great. I thought, she's a younger actress who, was kind of, I don't want to say forced to take a bigger role, but because of the circumstances, she kind of was forced, and I think she executed very well. And with the supporting cast around her, with M'Baku, I thought M'Baku was great.
He's fantastic.
He was.
Winston Duke's awesome.
I thought he was a little bit more comedic than I would have liked, but I think you needed a light tone. Yeah.
But the thing is, it was well timed. One of my issues with the MCU, especially like late Phase 3 and even Phase 4, is the humor is forced a lot. I know. People say, like DC edgelords, this and that. You got to lighten up a little bit, but I feel like with Marvel, they kind of ruin some emotionally heavy moments with the humor. Yeah. Thor Ragnarok comes to mind, like Destruction of Asgard. They're making jokes here.
The worst, I think, the worst offender of it is Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin.
Yeah, like we've talked about Sid. How many times have we talked about that?
Especially Ben Kingsley, I think is probably one of the greatest actors of his time. Like he's a truly, truly amazing. Like him and Gandhi, anyways.
And I think that character ruined Shang-Chi for me too. It's just annoying. But getting off topic. The comedy in this movie, it was well timed. It wasn't forced, and the humor, it was quick. It didn't linger. It wasn't just characters just going at it and one-upping each other with punchlines and gotchas and zingers. They said something funny. It was the perfect time moment. It made sense. Moving on. It was good. It didn't.
Like it felt natural.
It was natural. Yeah. It was natural. It didn't feel like these guys are reading a script.
No, I definitely agree. Now, in regards to the acting for this movie,
who do you think stole the show?
The Queen.
Yeah,
the Queen.
I would, for me personally, I would say the Queen and Shuri. I do believe that, but the
she
Queen,
comes second for me.
She was phenomenal, and again, she's an actress, Angela Bassett. She's an actress that, in anything she plays that emotional, that mother role, and she does it so well. And I really do believe in this film, you could see her pain, you could feel her pain.
I agree, you feel her pain. And especially there's two scenes that come to mind for me when I think of why she gave the best performance, and they're for two different reasons. It would be, I can't remember if this was the opening scene, but the scene when they're arguing with governments from France and other countries about the vibranium. So she's the new queen, and she's laying down the law with why Wakanda's not handing over vibranium, why they're not gonna negotiate and cooperate. So you feel the weight on her shoulders,
and then she's powerful.
She's powerful.
You feel that power. Like other countries took advantage. Hey, their second king is dead in the last few years, and she's like, hey, you think we're weak? You think because my son died, because my husband died, you think we're weak? And she freaking comes in with
strong.
That beautiful power move. Yeah. Brings in the people alive.
Yeah.
Not dead. Like, easily could have killed them, but she brought them in alive. That just to show and assert her dominance over the United Nations or whatever that conference was. I think I agree with you guys. I think she definitely stole the show.
she emphasized her anger in that scene over
Yeah.
her son's death rather than her sadness. And that's what brings me into my second favorite scene with her is I see on Twitter people are referring to it as the receipts scene. The scene when her and
Okoye. Yeah.
when she removes her
Yes.
and
Yeah.
she says how
Yes.
you chose to stand by Killmonger. We know that was her job and she swears loyalty to the throne and to the
Yeah.
country. But that scene, when I saw that,
Enough was enough. She had enough.
yeah, it was, I don't care about the throne and our rules and our government. It's
Well-
like, you betrayed my son and I didn't forget it. And look where we are now. Killmonger was the domino effect. He didn't kill T'Challa, but a lot happened that screwed up our country.
Yeah.
And look where we are now. That scene, so good.
I think that's again just her being a mother. Being a mother, being a
grieving
wife,
mother.
Yeah,
a grieving mother, a grieving wife, you know. And at that point, Shuri was missing. So her husband died.
Yeah.
T'Challa died.
Her
Shuri
daughter's
was
gone.
gone.
And she blamed
She
her.
doesn't know if she is dead, and she blamed her because she says, "Hey, what's the big thing that can happen?" Like it's like Okoye kind of had
But
was like a
that's-
game to her.
But that's what I enjoyed about this film is that it wasn't all, you know, everybody's on a team, everyone's working together.
Yeah.
It's all positive. They work together. They figure it out. In this movie,
Consequences.
there were consequences, and there were obstacles that they had to go through and to jump through. And I will say this: we haven't talked about Nakia yet, but Lupita, I think she is phenomenal.
She's great.
Something about her, like I first saw her in...
She just adds this warmth. I
Yeah.
don't know, to this film. Like whenever I saw her in the film, I felt like there was, I don't know,
I felt like T'Challa was there. You know
but
what
like
I
there
mean?
was like this, like, I don't know why, I just got this feeling like it was safe with her.
Yeah.
Like she seemed kind of like we're
control.
Right,
And-
where the queen was very acting out of like she had to be royal.
Yeah.
I felt like Nakia really had this, I don't know, big sister.
She saw things from
motherly
another
kind of-
perspective,
yeah.
beyond the throne and the royalty and
Well,
the ways the kingdom
in
does
the
things.
first Black Panther, obviously Nakia was that one of the individuals who truly believed that, you know, Wakanda can help other countries and that they should, you know, kind of spread their wealth and knowledge to not just the other African countries, but to all the countries in the world. And I feel like she showed that when she left Wakanda and kind of did her own thing because she couldn't stand to be in a place where everything was, you know, perfect and taken care of while there were other countries that were struggling. So I think she was phenomenal. And Winston Duke,
so good.
so good.
Oh.
The last guy,
When he comes in and he's, so I gotta point this out. When he comes in and he's saying, "What about the river tribe?" and he's pointing out like how all the different tribes like kind of messed up, and he was one of the first people to really, you know, if you want to call it the receipts thing, like when he was the first person to start really referencing the first movie and how things kind of played out.
yeah.
Um,
And he actually became like a brother figure to Shuri.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, towards the end of the film, he kind of gives her that type of brotherly advice, like, you know, be careful what you do next, you know, and that the fact that T'Challa was her protector, and now he sees that, you know, she's a young woman who, again, who's put in a situation that, you know, she needs some sort of guidance. And I thought that was a really great job by Winston Duke. He really played it off very well.
And how he was knowledgeable too. He studied his enemy.
Yeah.
And then that is, I think, very commendable. Like he lost to him in that fight, and then he went back and he did research of him. And he's like, no, his people refer to him as a god on Thor's level type of a deity.
So I think we can segue now into discussing the villain. What do you guys think?
I was just
man.
going to say, I thought Namor was great. And I love the fact that when we first see him, he's not really what we expect out of an MCU villain. He kind of starts off
charming.
Like he starts off in a good way, and when Shuri is with him and he is showing Shuri, you know, the ocean and where he's from and where he lives.
He's misunderstood. He's not a bad guy. He wants to protect his people.
Yeah.
But then at the drop of a hat, he's like, I will, paraphrasing, I will kill you all.
The way he played that, both sides of the coin. He was charming. He was a prince. He felt royal. He felt godly. He felt...
Well, he was to his people because that's all they know. They don't really interact with the surface unless they're giving them a problem. And so he is God to that. Another thing I appreciate about this movie is that it's not so much emphasizing setting up, okay, we're going to set up this next movie. This is setting up the plot for the next Avengers. And this is a reference to this kid. It was very much a Black Panther sequel. The only thing in this movie that was set up for something else was Ironheart. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But since we're still on the topic of Namor, the villain, I feel like the MCU for a long time has had a villain problem. A lot of them have been... I don't think they've really had any bad villains. They've had a series of forgettable villains. You've had your standouts. Thanos, of course.
Yeah.
Loki, Red Skull, Vulture, Mysterio. But a lot of them haven't been good. But I feel Phase 4, even though I feel Phase 4 is a little weaker, they've really stepped up their villain game. Gore the God Butcher. And now with Namor, I think now Ryan Coogler with Black Panther is 2 for 2. We have great villains. We have Killmonger and we have Namor.
And Baron Zemo, thank you.
Zemo was great.
Zemo was fantastic.
Yeah.
But what Marvel always does, or not always, but 90% of the time, what they do is they kill off their villains. They end that arc. They don't imprison them. Like, don't come back. Like, aside from Loki, for the longest time, I think Zemo was the only one that didn't die at the end of the film.
Yeah, I think Loki, he's one of my favorite MCU villains, and I think he's very popular, and I think they saw that, and I think that they couldn't really just, kill him off.
They killed him how many times?
God.
Yeah,
they killed him so many times, and he's come back quite a few times, but overall, I think he is a little bit of a different case, but I do agree with the overall point, and honestly, I thought Namor was phenomenal, really. From start to finish, his transition that we see in our eyes while watching the film really does open your eyes a little bit.
And to me, I think it gives me a lot of hopes for what they could potentially do with Doctor Doom. Because that's how Doctor Doom is seen from his people.
Yeah.
He's a ruler, and he loves his people. He'll do anything for his people, and he's a good guy with good intentions, but executes them in a bad way to protect his people.
Yeah.
And I really think if they, with what they did with Namor, I hope that leads to them doing something really good with Doctor Doom in the future.
The final fight scene with Shuri and Namor, I thought that was pretty good as well.
I really liked that.
Again, I think the way they ended it, where they kind of came to to an agreement once he yielded, and what the scene that I thought was really cool was when Nomura says to him, you made a deal with them. Like, you agreed to, make a deal with the Wakandans, and he tells her, I did it for a reason. Like, don't worry, don't worry. And I really liked that scene because it showed that he's a smart guy. Mm-hmm. He saw
this is part of the plan.
It's part of the plan.
He knew he couldn't win, so he found a way that maybe this could help us long term. He may not be genuine about it.
Yeah. When the Americans go after the Wakandans,
they have an alliance.
That's the idea, I feel like, for the next part of this story, that who are they going to go for support? Who are they going to ask for support?
And then
when Wakanda's weak,
exactly.
This what's the kingdom called? Atlantis in the comics.
Yeah.
But what is it in the movie? It's
let's just call it Atlantis.
I can't remember the name right now, but they'll strike when the time is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, overall, I thought the acting was great. Even Okoye, I thought she was really good too. again, very emotional. She was in this film a little bit more, and I enjoyed her. Some comedic scenes here and there, but they were very well placed.
They gave her more to do. I found she wasn't just the super strict, always serious bodyguard anymore. Where like, you know, after a while, it's like that would be okay. Like we get her shtick. This is, you know, she's that annoying, overbearing person, but actually cares for you. Now you're starting to learn more about her.
I loved her transition, how you know, how she went down to, like, she was cocky and look, we can do whatever we want. We're you know, we're Dora Milaje. I'm the general. Very controlling, set in her ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
like
then
she
you
opens
saw
up
her
a little bit more. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Now that suit at the end, I know it's comic book accurate to some degree, but I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the.
I thought it was
what Shuri's.
No. Shuri's suit,
suit.
Okoye's suit.
Oh.
I forget what they called it. The midnight something.
I think it's.
I didn't think it was bad. It was all right. Like it was.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think the costumes in general for this film, I thought they were really, really well done. Just like the first Black Panther, I think that they do a really good job of embracing their culture and showing how unique they are. And I'm going to bring up this scene probably multiple times, but the funeral that they had for T'Challa, and honestly, the funeral that they also had for Queen Ramonda later on in the show, in the film as well. Like, I just thought it was so well done. The music, you know, they were all wearing white, and we are accustomed, you know, to when we go to a funeral, what do you see? You see black. Everybody is wearing dark suits or dark clothing, but this was
Wakanda, death is not the end.
It's a celebration. Like, it's more of a celebration that, you know, he's moved on, and I just thought it was so beautiful. And Shuri's Black Panther suit, I thought was really great.
And I like how it had the dots on her face, like kind of like what she wore at the end of the last movie when they went into
like
battle with Killmonger.
That I think was her, like, you want to call it tribal symbol or war paint, yeah. Like how when she wore that too when T'Challa had to drink when he had to fight M'Baku in the beginning. Remember when they had like the big? Yeah. She wore the same dots. I think what was really cool is how she had, you know, the gold representing that fury, that rage, that need and want and desire for revenge. You know, the gold representing Killmonger. And then the silver representing her brother, and that how she kind of switched.
It's very intricate with the costumes. I think they're going to get an Oscar nomination for costume design for sure.
To touch a little bit more on Shuri's anger, that's another thing that I really did love. Like, they could have gone another direction. They could have made her sad and more down and more just down on herself than anything else. But they really gave her that anger, and you could see it in her. And the scene where, you know, we see Killmonger, I really thought that she played it off very, very well. And I liked the fact that she was fighting with herself on which side, you know, she will be on, you know. So I thought it was interesting, and I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Killmonger, I was kind of shocked that he was there.
I was expecting a cameo of him of some sorts, because I know that Michael B. Jordan he's Ryan Coogler's De Niro at this point. He's been with him since the beginning. Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther. So I was expecting some sort of cameo. A lot of the theories were saying that Killmonger might be alive. I didn't buy that. But the scene when he appeared, I thought it wasn't forced. It felt natural. Like, it made sense to the plot. It made sense to Shuri's character arc and where she was going. And for him to be the one to kind of, I don't want to say push her there, but put things in a perspective where, for all intents and purposes, Killmonger's views are twisted, but they're not necessarily wrong, or at least they're not totally 100% wrong. So she was able to kind of see things from his perspective, and in her grief and anger was kind of able to channel that, but ultimately make a choice.
Yeah.
Is she going to be her cousin or is she going to be her brother?
And at the end of the day, you clearly see towards the end of the film that her mother and T'Challa are always there. You know, they're there, and you saw the Queen come to her and tell her, you know, show them who you are. And again, I thought it was just beautiful, really. I think they did such a great job, and the costumes I thought were phenomenal. What did you guys think about the CGI, about the effects?
I think, I don't know how they made Namor's wings actually look cool.
Yeah, it's such a goofy
the wings on his feet, the little...
Yeah, it's a goofy comic booky trope or whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? Just something that's associated with the character that you would think at first glance this is not going to translate well. It's going to look totally stupid.
But they did it.
They made it work somehow. And even with his costume, Namor wears green trunks in the comics, and that's it. But the MCU, they decided, you know, less is more. They kept the green trunks, and they found a way to make it realistic. They didn't make it like a Speedo, but they like in the comics, but they made it work. They added some jewelry to kind of show that Aztec Mayan kind of culture that he derives from, to kind of make him less naked. Yeah. But it worked. When you look at him, you're not thinking, wow, this is a stupid comic book movie. You're thinking, this is...
I believe it.
I believe it. This guy is from the sea. He's going to kick your ass. He's a villain. Like, it's just...
The one... I don't know, like, the one knock that I had on this, on the film in regards to CGI and effects is what we saw in Atlantis.
It was dark.
I felt like it was a little too dark. I felt like a lot of the times, maybe because we were watching it in the movie theater, and you know sometimes it's not the best quality, but I felt like it was a little bit and in 3D.
No, I watched it in IMAX, and it was dark. Couldn't.
I felt like it was kind of difficult to see because what I compare it to is Aquaman.
James Wan's
Aquaman. James Wan, what he did to how he made Atlantis look the way he did.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. It was bright blue. It was
imaginative.
Everywhere you look, you're seeing something, and you could see it so clearly. Yeah. So
I think they needed to do like more like bioluminescent animals and algae and that kind of stuff to really show this fantasy. I think even going with building like ruins and stuff in the symbol of how their people, you know what I mean, like how the ancient people would have designed those temples.
Underwater Mayan pyramids would have
with overgrown like bioluminescent like algae on them and stuff, like to light this city up. It was just too dark. And honestly didn't really like parts of it looked beautiful, like how the people were, but like it didn't feel like, oh my god, like this place is paradise. It's like, oh Jesus, this place is dark.
Like I get Under the Sea, it would make sense that it would be dark, but I mean, come on, this is Marvel, it's a comic book movie, things like that, you don't need to make sense of it. Like you should have showed it, and it's kind of like, I'm not gonna say that this is the reason for it, but it's kind of an open secret when a movie's CGI isn't finished or isn't up to par, you darken the screen to hide it a little bit. I'm not going to say that was the reason, but you know, there's been those reports that Marvel's CGI VFX teams are very overworked. They're not making deadlines because they have a million projects going on. So, and you know what? There's times in the MCU recently where the CGI is just, it's not up to par. I mean, it's good, but it's not. It's not like top level that we've seen. Yeah. Even in Spider-Man No Way Home, amazing movie, but the CGI, like they were even doing comparisons, like Andrew Garfield's suit and fighting sequences looked better in Amazing Spider-Man 2 from 2014 than it did in CGI. Yeah. I think, you know what, for the most part, I think the CGI was great in this movie, but there were times where you go, not the best. Was never bad. Never bad. Yeah.
But lacking, like something, like not up to where we should be.
But I will say, watching this movie, I feel like they utilized sets a lot more than they have been recently. Because lately in MCU, you see behind the scenes, they're on a green screen a lot. Yeah. Everything is CGI. Even they CGI their costumes, they CGI their backdrop. everything lately. And I don't know, I don't want to sound like a film snob here, but I like when you go on a location. I like when you're on a set. I like you don't need to CGI.
It also
all these
brings
things.
tourism too, like how they did with Lord of the Rings and stuff. Like they built those the little hobbit nests and stuff. You can go and see them too.
Yeah.
Like that, it's on my bucket list. You can't really.
But when you CGI everything, it's just there's gonna be moments where it's gonna take you out because you're gonna look at it and say, okay, this looks like you see the memes on Twitter where they're saying, why does every Marvel movie look like Spy Kids 3 right now? Which it's just it's not nearly that bad, but I'm all for practical.
Yeah, I agree with that. And speaking of dark, now we're talking about, the tone of the film. I thought that it was perfect in a way where it was dark when it needed to be dark. It was emotional when it needed to be emotional. It was comedic when it was necessary and when they could fit it in. But I'm a sucker for a good, serious, dark film. Even when we're talking about superhero films. Sid, again, we've talked about this before. Me being a huge fan of the DC universe, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman.
I will die on that hill. It's
even
it deserves.
Even the Dark Knight trilogy, same thing.
The crown jewel of the entire
the
genre.
Batman, same idea. So for me, going into this film, I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected because of that reason.
I definitely like those when it's more realistic. And I'm a sucker for just an entertaining film. I want to go to the theater. Sometimes where I know it's not real. I know it's a fantasy. I know some of these things don't exist, but it's entertaining to see someone's inner child kind of on screen. But I definitely within the realm of it being explained or realistic. And this movie I think did a great job. I do. It's probably going to be an unpopular opinion. I do think some of the plot in the movie was. I feel like
I think I know where you're going, and I'm going to ask you if this is what you're getting at. Did you like how the entire reason for the conflict was because of the unrelated Ironheart? Riri Williams.
Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't care for that.
I don't think Ironheart needed to be in it.
You could remove her from the movie.
From the movie, it didn't matter. You know what? What they should have done is they should have just made it a name drop. They should have said, "Who designed this tech? Riri Williams." Boom, lead it into Ironheart. Then they go and search But to put her in this movie, it felt so forced. Like, don't get me wrong, the acting was good.
She was great. Nothing against her. She was good.
Nothing against her.
I want to see her again.
Yes, yes. And even but that's the thing is because she was just thrown into this role, you don't get to see, hey, she's this brilliant mind who built the Star Trek and stuff.
The entire conflict between these two kingdoms is because some American that neither of them know built some technology. Why does Wakanda care that much?
Right.
It's just if it'd be different if she was Wakandan or I don't know somebody from their kingdom built it. Or why couldn't their conflict be something that's centuries old?
I think
they've done a war before.
I think
it felt very personal.
Exactly. It felt personal and it wasn't personal. I feel like they should have had an ancient pact where we're never going to disclose who we are or reveal ourselves to the world. The Wakandans broke that treaty unknowingly, but they broke that treaty. The Atlanteans, then I feel...
Talocan.
Talocan. Thank you.
Talocan.
I feel like the Talocan and then Wakandans then battle because of that. You broke our ancient treaty. We were supposed to remove ourselves from the world and be the keepers of vibranium because we know how destructive it could be.
I think now this is just me speculating, obviously, but being that T'Challa is now gone, I think the MCU said, okay, we have to introduce someone else. We gotta do something else. And I felt like they took Ironheart's character and they tried to put it in this film and make her kind of the reason why these things were happening, and I just didn't buy that part so much. Now, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're probably going to see a Disney Plus
I'm pretty
show.
sure
She's got a show coming.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
But that's
I mean,
the thing is
that's the whole. But see, that's what the MCU does, and I think that's
didn't
where
have
they're
to-
at today, where they introduce these characters just so that you get enough of them, so that when the show comes out, people are like, I saw her in Black Panther. I want to see more. So,
But it's funny when Marvel introduces somebody in another person's movie, you get that reaction. How come when DC does that, people freak out? They didn't get their own movie first. How am I supposed to get attached? Blah 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 blah.
yeah. I mean, I think you're. Yeah, I think Black Adam had. I know. Again, we're talking about another film, but Black Adam was a movie where it did have a couple of characters that they introduced that I felt like they were just kind of thrown in there, and same idea though as Ironheart, but the reactions from people it's completely different, completely opposite.
I just think what they did with Riri Williams and Ironheart, like coming in here, I think it was a disservice. I feel like the character is interesting, and I think if the character is interesting enough, you can make a show about them, and you don't have to force it into Wakanda Forever so that she gets her cameo debut and then make a series off of her. I think that if the character is interesting enough, you can do it. And people will watch it because it's interesting.
If you want to introduce her character in this film, I don't think that that's a bad thing, and I don't think that's a negative thing at all. I just think the fact that she was the main reason for
she was the
everything.
tipping point of
I just didn't really buy it.
If I was the ruler of Wakanda at this point, and everything I just went through with T'Challa and now with the Queen, I would be like, why do I care about Riri Williams, this American? Why do I care right now? Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure, she can find vibranium and stuff, but it's not in our kingdom. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. The American, or the French government, whatever government, they want vibranium so bad. Well, let them fuck off and go get them somewhere else then.
Yeah, and I mean,
they'll stop bothering me.
The Queen kind of said that. She's like, it's not our problem, whatever. But then Shuri and Okoye, I think they were the two that wanted to really go and protect this scientist.
Now, remind me, why did Namor though go after Wakanda because of Riri? Why didn't
he went to them and said, hey, I want help to go and we need to form an alliance. He went to them asking like, hey, I'm going to go and I want you to like help me kill the scientist. You guys are the ones who exposed yourself. It's your fault because you put vibranium on the map. Now they're looking for it. They stepped into my territory.
Right, yeah.
You bring me the scientist, and that's our alliance.
So I get the whole superhero aspect. We're all know we're gonna save her life, this and that. But again, that's fine. But I don't think that should have been the reason for an all-out war.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene? You guys got a favorite scene? I have one. I'm gonna I'll start because
I gotta think.
It was in my head and it just. And you know what? This is the after credit scene.
I was gonna go there.
It's still part of the film, so this is what I'm gonna say. That after credit scene, it touched me in a way that it was.
That's an emotional gut punch, man. It
was so well done. And that little boy could be Chadwick Boseman's son. Like it looked identical to him, and I just thought it was so well done. And this gave Lupita's character a reason for why she left, why she wasn't at T'Challa's funeral, because she wasn't ready for all of that.
She's protecting their child, and maybe one day will return to take the throne. But it's better to have him not be away, he's sheltered. Nobody knows about him. He's not tangled to these politics and conflicts.
Like,
he can
that
just
force to
grow
like,
and
rule
be
the
a
throne.
kid.
Yeah.
When he said my real name is T'Challa, like that, it was so. And then Shuri's reaction, everything about that
music,
scene.
her reaction, the acting, she was just fantastic. It was just so good. But another thing about that scene is, I mean, this would obviously be years from now, but I feel like the MCU, they kind of found a recasting loophole or back door with the son. The son's name is T'Challa. So
Yeah.
in the years to come, you can kind of do stories about T'Challa from the comics that they want to adapt, or aspects from Ryan Coogler's original script, or things they had planned for T'Challa, but apply it to T'Challa Jr. It's kind of like a way to... That way you're not recasting the original character, but you're using him in the form of his son.
And I think it was out of respect as well. I think they did such a great job of not stepping on anyone's toes, because obviously Chadwick's death was very, very shocking, and it was horrible. And I remember where I was when I heard about his death and exactly what I was doing, because really it was so sad. But I thought,
especially with like what people were saying when he looked sick, and people were making nasty comments like that, and you just
I think he looks so miserable and this and that.
Well, Crack Panther.
It tells you that you don't know what people are going through, and because he was such a popular actor, especially of course during this time, and still even his castmates didn't know what he was going through. I think that just shows the type of person he was, and I just think they did such a great job of respecting his character, respecting him as a person, and the way they went about this film and handing it off to Shuri and eventually his son, his own blood. I guess
that'll bring up my next question. Do you think they could have recasted the role? And if so, do you think it would have been appropriate to do so now or later?
I feel like, me personally, in general, recasting roles always gets to me in
a continuity.
In a continuity.
Yeah, okay. A reboot's one thing.
That's just my opinion for continuity wise. Reboot is a reboot.
Different. But Marvel really opened the doors with recasting now with variants, right?
Multiverse,
with the multiverse and variants.
I hope they don't overdo that.
The multiverse is a slippery slope, I find, because now things can be inconsequential.
Yeah,
right.
You kill someone off.
Yeah.
Oh, we got an alternate universe.
Bring him back from universe 6312. Okay.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Matt, did you have a favorite scene?
I think that is my favorite scene, but I also think when the Queen's just like, have I not given enough?
Yeah.
When she does that, no. I know what my actual favorite scene is. In the beginning, when the theater goes absolutely silent, when the Marvel logo pops up, you could hear pin drops.
You know what I could hear? I heard the idiot next to me fiddling with his fucking Skittles, trying to open it during the scene.
Oh, man.
Bro, you know how upset I was? That was such an emotional scene. It's so quiet.
Dude, he was the only guy in the theater making noises.
Man,
I looked over.
He couldn't have waited.
Yeah.
I looked over at my wife, bawling her eyes out, just like whimpering, crying. And me too, I was shedding some tears. Yeah. But like, wow, that... Well done, Marvel.
Yeah,
well done. That was perfect. Yeah. I do wish. I know it's maybe unpopular or whatnot, but I do wish they would have had some sort of voice line or something. Like when he says, "Death is not, death in my culture is only the beginning." I think they could have put something like that in there with Shuri and have him kind of even just a voice line or something. Say to her to pull her back.
No, I get it, but I feel a lot of filmmakers, when it comes to a past star, they don't want to tread with that. Like an example that comes to mind is Christopher Nolan with The Dark Knight Rises. They didn't even mention the Joker because he didn't want to go there. Like the passing of Heath Ledger kind of hurt them so much. He's like I
get that. That was the one thing. Like wish.
Yeah, it would have worked.
Especially
really well.
when you see T'Challa go into the astral plane and he sees his dad, and he gets that closure. Yeah. I think having a moment like that, I was waiting for that. I was waiting. It didn't have to be his face or CGI like how they did with like Luke or anything, or even with Leia in A New Hope. Or not A New Hope, in Rogue One, thank you. It didn't have to be anything like that. It just to have his voice or something.
Would you guys, like, where...
Actually, I got another favorite scene I want to add.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I do like the scene with Killmonger. I love the battle scene, too, so those would be another to the post-credit. But another scene I really like, I don't remember the dialogue because I'd have to watch it again, but this is before the battle when Namor confronts the Queen on the beach.
Yeah.
It's like, shit's about to go down now.
Yeah.
Like, and she's not backing off.
Yeah.
And he's making it known. The charming Namor is not there anymore that we saw underwater. He's like, I'm declaring war right now.
Like, he's like, I'll grip your whatever. Like,
that scene, I was like, ooh, it's on, and this is a good villain.
Like, I like when you see how ruthless he is.
Where would you guys now? We would like to do another episode talking about our rankings in the MCU, our rankings in the DC universe as well, and even rankings with our top superhero films. But I wanted to ask you guys, where would you guys put this in your rankings with the MCU specifically?
Overall or Phase
would you
4?
say? I would say overall, but you don't have to give a specific. Would you say it's in your top? Would you say it's more in the middle? Would you say it's more in below? What would you guys say?
You know what? I think I'm confident to say that it's probably in my top 10, probably towards the it might be smack dab number 10.
39. I said almost 30. There's 39.
There's 39. Wow, almost 40.
Does it crack your top 10? That's a better question.
I think it may crack my top 10. Like, I think it would.
It doesn't for
I think
me.
it would. It would be at the bottom. It might be number 10 right on the dot.
So for Sid, you're thinking...
I think
could
so.
be
I
10.
really liked it.
Yeah.
For me, it's definitely in my top 20, but it's not in my top 20.
So it's more in the middle of the pack?
Yeah, I feel like those plot issues really, really bother me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't... Like,
That's fair.
I don't know.
But the thing is, I find with... I don't want to attack the MCU, but I find that like a lot of their movies kind of have really thin plots anyways.
Yeah.
But they end up kind of covering it up with really good... like just good acting,
good main
just
characters.
making an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
And Ryan Coogler now is 2 for 2 with Black Panther with having great scripts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the first Black Panther I think is a better movie with a better story, but this movie had such a great script that the issues we had with the plot and their conflict, you can bury that with everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't see past some of the things. Some
Yeah,
of the things really, really get to me.
For me, I do believe that it would crack my top 10. I do believe so because, again, for me, in a lot of these MCU movies, how I leave the theater is a big thing for me. I left that movie being like, wow. Yeah. Like, really, it left me like, wow. I remember, Sid, I looked at you right when the movie was done, and I was like, holy.
Yeah, like,
man, like, it really...
That was unexpected. I didn't know what to expect.
I don't know about
really.
you guys, but I thought about it that whole night. Like,
and
I was
find I
really
don't get
thinking
that
about
with Marvel movies. You go, you watch, oh, that was awesome, great time, when this happened, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, anyways, and then it's kind of, it's disposable. It's a popcorn flick. They don't, not all of them sit with you like that.
But this sat with me. And I think anybody who has truly lost someone in their life, really can watch this film and I think they can connect with that. I think they can, and at least maybe speaking for myself, I thought about a couple of things as well, and it really kind of, put me in a place where I felt emotional, but in a good way, because Wakanda, they do such a great job of, talking about that death is not the end, and it truly is a celebration. And of course it's sad, but it was really, really a beautiful thing. I do believe that.
I agree with all those points. When I walked out of the theater, I was wanting. I felt
wanting a little
like
bit.
I felt like, I just felt that there was some things that they should have done and some things that they shouldn't have done.
Yeah. I also feel though, Matt, going back to you, it's not perfect. I don't want to make it sound like it's a masterpiece. I think it's a great movie. It's a great comic book movie. But I keep on taking into consideration the circumstances. I mean, like, they were handcuffed, and given the circumstances, they made an amazing movie.
Yeah.
This easily could have just been a total botch.
No, I agree with you. It was way better than I ever thought that it would be. Like, way better than I thought. Like, I thought I was walking into this movie and I thought it was going to be garbage.
I think also too, no matter what they did, I feel like they knew that people are going to watch this film. Being that
everyone's curious,
you know,
how are you going to do this?
Yeah, like when Chadwick died and everybody was asking, you know, what's going to happen now. I think either way, it would have been a quote unquote successful film, but they didn't just leave it at that. I think they really tried to embrace him, and they did it in such a great way. Being that now we're towards the end of this episode, I want to talk about quickly what we rate this movie. So a simple rating out of 10, 5 being, it was meh, like it was okay, obviously above 5, below 5. So for myself, I'll go first. I would give this film a 7.5 out of 10. I felt like, again, it was a beautiful film. I thought that it was very well acted. It was well done. The script was there. But being that there were some plot holes, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Enjoyable. I would 100% watch it again. And definitely entertaining.
Me, I would, I agree with all points. What would I give it? I'm leaning more towards the 8 side. I don't know if I would give it an 8.
I was gonna say 8 out of 10, but something in my head told me.
But I feel
7.5.
For me, 7.5 is too low too. So I don't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like 7.7, 7.8. I really like the movie. I really do.
Yeah.
So I guess before Matt gives his rating, I want to ask Sam, because I know I watched it with you and you really liked it. So I'm going to ask you, Black Panther or Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which did you prefer?
So for me, it is tough, and it's crazy. Some people might think that it's crazy that I'm even debating this because of, Chadwick Boseman's performance in the first Black Panther was phenomenal. But something about this movie, maybe it was the emotional side of things. Maybe it was because the tone was a little bit darker and it was a little bit more serious. I found myself, my eyes were glued to the screen the whole time. Mm-hmm. So for me, I would say it's a 1A, 1B situation. I feel like they're on par with each other, but for me, for what is more enjoyable to watch, I would say this film over the first Black Panther. That's
but
again,
you can't get.
I'm a sucker for dark tones, and I felt that in this movie.
But the second movie would not have the effect that it did on you without the first.
No, but that's why I say
I don't
1A,
like comparisons
1B,
like that when you say that this movie, it can't be better than the first one.
Like I like Thor Ragnarok more than I like the first Thor.
Right. Or even I like The Dark Knight more than Batman Begins. But like that, you know what I mean? I like reviewing a movie in between its quote.
No, I know, but
corners.
Example, all those emotional things with how they did with Wakanda Forever. With Chadwick and with T'Challa's death, even if it was, let's say Chadwick didn't die and it was about T'Challa's death and all this stuff, you wouldn't feel the same way.
No, that's fair.
Because of his performance in Black Panther 1, you wouldn't, like, him dying in Black Panther 2, you wouldn't feel anything.
So now, are you a Black Panther 1?
Black Panther 1's on my top 10.
For me, Sid knows this about me. There's a few actors that I just can't get past. I can't get through. In the first,
here we go.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Michael B. Jordan, for me, I mean, I understand his popularity, but as an actor and as Killmonger, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that, and some people were actually having the the gall to compare him with some of the major villains we've seen, like Heath Ledger's Joker,
Relax.
like even
That's chill.
Thanos.
Yeah.
I thought it was crazy.
That's overblown.
And Forrest Whitaker, again, is another actor that I just can't do it. I can't do it. Something about him, again, I respect him as an actor, but I just can't get past it. So for me, the acting was another thing that, you know, I really will give this Black Panther film.
That's fair.
I liked Killmonger as a villain a lot. He's one of my favorite MCU.
The motivation.
villains.
Like when he says things like auntie and
What's up, cousin?
like things like that.
What's
I don't
up?
know. Maybe I'm a little. I just don't want to hear those type of things in a movie like this. But yeah.
But no, I think I prefer the first one because as much as I liked Namor, I think I did like Killmonger a little better. I liked the smaller scope of the first movie, and of course Chadwick, he was great.
Yeah.
The first one just felt more personal.
The first one felt more personal. I like the tone of the second one because I like serious movies. But the thing about the second one that the first one didn't have is the first one never dragged. The second, this Wakanda Forever, I feel at the midpoint of the movie. Not that it was ever boring, but it was just there was a time where it was kind of like, okay, you can trim this a little bit. It's a little bit long. You can cut maybe 5 minutes out here, 5 minutes out like maybe not in chunks, but you can shorten this movie a little bit.
Yeah, like even Everett Ross in this film, and even the Americans in general, I felt like it was kind of like, you know, it was there, but it didn't really need to be there in a way. Like I think what they tried to do is
they want to get into the
create
political
create something
Yeah.
for the next film, because I do think that the American, like, it's going to be the Americans versus the Wakandans. Like that's
Eventually, that's
what I
something they'll
feel
build up,
like
yeah.
we're gonna see. But
I'm gonna give it my rating. I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
6.5, really?
Yeah. I just I don't think the queen had to die. I don't think it was just. I feel like it was just too much now. Like we already lost T'Challa. You lost. I just feel like it didn't really. It wasn't necessary. You already had the weight of her brother to throw another death on there.
Oh, I liked that because now it pushed her, because after her mother's death, that's when shit really turned. That's when she went. That's when the war happened. That's when she suited up.
Yeah,
it was.
I feel
It was like enough is enough now, kind of thing.
yeah, and she had to be her own person.
But then she's like, all right, I lost everyone, so now I'm gonna put literally my entire country in harm's way.
Yeah,
because she doesn't care anymore.
But that's,
you know what I mean.
Imagine you in her position.
Would you not be mad? And you're like, this motherfucker's declaring war on me. I'm gonna bring it.
But
and it's his fault she died.
But I also don't think, like, in the beginning when Shuri was saying how if I keep thinking about my brother, I'm gonna burn the world. Like, why? He died of natural causes. No. He died of a disease. But why does the world have?
I feel like that's a
But I feel like everybody deals with death differently. People get angry. Some people, they break down. Some people close off. I think that was just her way of, and that was something different. It was different with the MCU. She was angry. She was threatening, and I liked seeing that. I liked seeing the edgier side. But then at the end, of course, she goes back to her roots. You see the queen come to her, and I think that it was a good full circle moment,
Yeah.
So, but
yeah. So I think our total score for it would be a 21.7 out of 30.
Yeah.
So what we do, we total all of our scores at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then we rate it out of 30. So that way you're getting a really a good average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for today's episode. We appreciate anybody who took the time to listen to The Real 3 today. And we just want to say thank you again. And we will see you next time.
Feel free, follow us on Facebook and leave some comments below in the video, things that you want to see, how we can maybe improve, things that maybe you want us to discuss more, and just give us your feedback. We'd love to hear some of your thoughts and hear some of your thoughts about Wakanda Forever.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and roll credits.